Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Going to dive today into the Blur token, where you have a bunch of token being unlocked over the next day or two. Also going to talk about a new wallet that has emerged that Cyrus kind of flagged in a tweet. Want to dive a little bit into there and why it's a bit of a unique situation. Let's get started. Starting off with a quick market overview. Volumes were basically in line with the range that we have been in over the past few days, a little bit up from yesterday. Unique wallets has gone up a fair bit over the past couple weeks, a little bit towards the low end of the range of the past week, but still a little bit higher than we were in May. So that's decent to see. This is a chart that I showed yesterday. We had it continue over the past 24 hours. Percentage of ETH volume on Blur, which is dumped into bids as opposed to buyers picking which NFT they want. That ratio over the past week has gotten up to 94%, really driven by Bored Apes. We're seeing a lot of zero royalty trading from that blend wallet. I think that keeps Bored Apes high on the point earning scale for Blur, but that's really where the majority of the volume has been recently. Now, one of the things that we've all seen is that there's been a lot of uncertainty in the NFT ecosystem, in the crypto ecosystem in particular. And I think that while ETH has been high, while ETH has outperformed the alts and kind of a lot of the cryptocurrency complex, which has been down a lot, it's a period where one would think that ETH should be rising because the stocks and other risk assets have been rising. What this chart looks at is the ratio of Ethereum relative to Triple Q, which is basically a tech stock proxy. And you can see just how much we're down over the past few weeks. And that's during a period where ETH has broadly been flat. So this should be a risk on period, but ETH has been a little bit weak despite outperforming a lot of the alts. Now looking at NFT prices, large cap index was down again, starting to retest those recent lows that we saw a couple weeks ago. Had a little bit of strength in Azuki Cool Cats and a bunch of weakness in CloneX, Coda, and Captainz. Mid-cap index basically flat, down a small bit with some strength in On-Chain Monkey. If you look at this chart for On-Chain Monkey, you can see, for an NFT bear market, this project has done incredibly well. The floor is back above 2 ETH. And this is a project, Danny's always in my DMs. I'm always talking to Danny, the founder, and he's really, I think, one of the people who's really kind of pioneering on-chain ordinals, and I think just wants to bring On-Chain Monkey along for this ordinal movement, and On-Chain Monkey seems to be the place you can go to kind of get that exposure via the ETH ecosystem. So really seeing a lot of strength there. In terms of art projects, I guess the biggest sale here is a Gazers, and then a few Chromie Squiggles sales. Those are the only two projects that did more than 10 ETH of volume. Looking a little bit deeper, that Gazers sold for 17 ETH. That is below the current floor. So we were seeing sales on Gazers at like 10 to 12 ETH just a month or two ago. Now we're seeing them at 17 ETH. So nice movement there. Here we have I believe it's a color spread 10 Chromie Squiggle sold for 12.2 ETH. Beautiful squiggle there. There was also a fuzzy which sold around the 12.5 ETH range. So two nice squiggle sales. A Meridian in the lower left for 6.15 ETH, kind of back towards the low end of the range that we've seen for Meridians. And then in the lower right there, you have an Archetype by Ketul Golid, which sold for 9.2 ETH. So again, kind of towards the low end of the range that we've seen for that NFT. Second thing I wanted to talk about was Blur Dilution. I think this is a story that we've known about, that over time, more insiders and investors, and by insiders, I mean employees, contributors, etc., would eventually get to sell some of their Blur. And that is going to start, I believe, tomorrow. So June 14th or 15th, but I believe it's the 14th. Here you see an article from The Block where they said that Blur is set to increase circulating supply by 40% with $60 million of token unlock. To explain this, kind of if you remember the way that the Blur token gets distributed, 51% goes to the community. Of that, 12% of the overall pool was in the initial airdrop, and the remaining 39% will be distributed over the next few years. But the big block, contributors, investors, and advisors, have not been able to sell any of their Blur despite the launch. They've had a 4-month basically a 4-month vesting period, a 4-month cliff, and during that cliff, you are not allowed to sell. So what you can see here, these white lines basically represent that cliff where those insiders cannot sell. And what's happening now is tomorrow or the next day, that cliff ends. And again, I believe it's tomorrow. that cliff ends, and you'll be able to see 49%, the amount that has vested thus far, those holders will be able to sell. So it's only a small piece of their overall position, because only 40% of their overall position vests in the first year. Of that first year, we're only 4 months in, but still you are going to start to see a supply. The circulating blur is actually very low relative to the overall market cap. A little bit about the numbers: that initial airdrop was 360 million. For the community, there's still about 1.1 billion that's remaining. Everyone else, all these other folks, contributors and investors, have about 1.5 billion, and of that, only a small percent is going to go in, but it is about 196 million tokens that they are now going to be able to sell. This probably increases the amount in circulation, though, by about 54%. They say 40%. I actually think it's 54%. So it is just a lot more supply that is sellable, that is going to be coming to market. Why do I think it is 54% instead of 40%? It says here that circulating supply is around 500 million, but we know that the only circulating supply that's actually been distributed is that initial airdrop. The rest of the supply that's kind of being vested for the community is still being held back, and that's going to be distributed at season 2. That's just kind of my read on the data, but what I think is happening. So what does this all mean? I think the big picture is that Blur is already down a lot. The token has gone from 0.75 US dollars to about 30 cents. So I think that this has started to be priced in. I think people are starting, I think a lot of people are waiting for this. Perhaps people are shorting into it. I have no idea. I'm not really involved there at all. But perhaps they're short. So who knows where it's going to go? I think it does start to feel like it's getting priced in. Maybe we get a rally if you don't see kind of a lot of sellers, but who knows? Anyways, it's always interesting when the supply of a token increases substantially. We're also seeing unlocks for Ape and a few other tokens. So kind of a theme that we're seeing right now in a lot of these tokens. Not the best timing given the weakness that we've had on the back of the SEC news, but figured it was relevant and I would mention it. Third thing to talk about: a new wallet emerges as relevant, and all credit for this goes to Cyrus. Also, K2 Crypto has been in my DMs talking about this wallet for a little while. So Cyrus and K2, I think, have been kind of all over this. Here's how Cyrus is basically saying, keep your eyes on this wallet over the next few weeks. And it's a bit of an interesting wallet. I think in the Blur game, and the Blur game is the NFT game, at least the PFP game, 95% of the volume is on Blur. So this is what matters. It's important to watch a lot of these big wallets that have a big impact. What is interesting about this wallet, though, is it has spent about 4,100 ETH just in the past month. And the vast majority of that has actually been just in the past week. This wallet has spent probably, 3,900 ETH just on a bunch of NFTs. You can see here, a lot in Bored Ape Yacht Club, 2,700 spend and only sold 99 ETH there. DGod spent 800, only sold 300. Mutant Ape Yacht Club has spent 494 and only sold 95. So a lot of buying in a lot of these top projects, which are just kind of heavily airdrop farm projects. And again, I said most of this buying has been in the past week. What this wallet here looks at is the gradual, or how that spend has progressed. So you can see in the beginning, this wallet was buying and selling DGods just kind of like a normal farmer does. My sense is that they started to get long and were not able to sell at a profit and ended up just buying more and more and more. And what happens when this wallet runs out of ETH is they just add more ETH. So recently they added 1,000 ETH more to the wallet. A couple days ago, they added 150 or about 100 ETH to the wallet. This wallet's also lending a lot. Now, what makes this wallet unique? It's also bought the occasional Grail NFT. So it bought this Grail DGod, this Medusa, I believe, for 88 ETH. So it's a little bit different from most airdrop farmers, but I think at the core, this is an airdrop farmer. 94% of the purchases of the ETH volume spent has been through bids. So this is not a wallet that has gone out and bought a ton of NFTs. It has done a little bit of it, though, which makes it a little bit different from other kind of airdrop farmers. Now, my overall take here is just, I think this is someone who's very, very long and hopefully creates a risk for the market when someone has bought so much and you really don't quite know what they want to do with it. Do they want to sell earlier? This is a wallet that has occasionally sold some NFTs. Are they going to dump into bids? You just don't know. Either way, look at Cyrus's Twitter, and follow this wallet. Put it up on, if you care about this stuff, pull it up on Blur, watch the activity, start to get a feel of if you see the dumping, because I do think that does present a little bit of risk for the market. Hopefully they're just sponging it up, though, and not going to sell, and overall that takes some supply out. So we will see how that goes. And then lastly, let's talk about a few notable sales. First, we had a Top Hat VR Punk sell for 135 ETH. Now, this one's just interesting because it has two Grail traits. Now, VR is one of those trades, kind of like 3D glasses, kind of like hoodies, that is not very rare in punks. But despite that, it just has great culture around it and people pay up for it. The top hat is quite rare among male crypto punks, but either way, this is a pretty punchy sale for this market. Most of the top hats have been in that 100 to 120 ETH range. So nice sale, no surprise though, given how clean it is and that it has that VR as well. Two punks, female punks also sold. This one on the left is a pilot helmet, one of the most rare female traits, sold for 95 ETH. This one on the right is interesting because it had not traded from the wallet that owned it, that claimed it ever. So this person, the seller, claimed this punk and is selling it now for the first time. A bunch of cool traits, the big shades. I love how that earring just kind of sits there as an island in the hair, the headband, of course. So pretty cool punk there. This was a Kraken Captainz. There were two Kraken Captainz sales, one for 14.7 ETH and one for 10.7 ETH. So pretty interesting kind of 4 ETH gap between those two sales. Still, meme land has been clear that the Grail Captainz are the ones that are going to get more meme coins. So just in line with that. Just a quick reminder of the rarities. You have the aliens, which are 68, are at the biggest premium, then kaijus, then kongs, then sharks. And these Krakens are the 5th in line, but still seeing great sales there. You had an Opepen edition size 1. So one of those one of ones that has not yet revealed the art, sold for 11.2 ETH, slightly above the 10 ETH sale that we saw last week. And then in super rare, just really not a lot of volume in super rare, but there was one sale I wanted to highlight. This piece called Cycles by Josh Pierce, sold for 2 ETH. You can see kind of a bit of a human element here, surrounded by this energy, circular figure. A little bit more about Josh Pierce. You can see some of his top sales. He's actually been a very prolific artist. He has a bunch of sales kind of in that 5 to 10 ETH range. Here you see a few of them, as well as one for 3.8. But, again, in this market, nothing to complain about with a 2 ETH sale. A little bit about Josh Pierce. He says on his site that he believes he is about the art of spiritual awakening. He focuses on surreal and natural themes, evoking a sense of awe and spiritual calm with his sublime use of color and composition, juxtaposing natural elements with abstract energy forms to suggest the presence of the beyond in the here and now. Clearly someone with a very kind of spiritual approach to his art, and really cool stuff. I enjoyed looking around his work, so congrats to him and congrats to the buyer on that. That is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Give us a like if you did. Tell us what you think in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and join our Telegram group. We have a link down there below where you can join the Telegram group. That's just a place we send alerts every single day, so you can see the show before you can see the alert for the show before we do the premiere. We'll be back tomorrow and every weekday, pretty much every weekday, with another show. Have a great day.